It's Avital. What's up, everybody? It is, because let's add you back in. Yep, there she is. All right. What's up, everybody? My name is Lauren. I have a guest today, and I'm super stoked to chat with her, and I'm so happy you're all here. Hopefully my mic is functioning okay. Deep, deep, deep. Sorry. Anyhow, what's going on? Thanks for the shout out on liking the theme song music. I like it also. I think it adds an extra happy flair to start the day. Yeah, so let's see. I took out my AirPods. Let's see if this works. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, boom. We've got an echo though.
Give me another minute.
1 second, good thing I'm good at filling the time. Is this your guest, Queen of Bees? Oh, Queen of the Bees, like the buzzing. Yes, she is. What's up, James? Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to have you here. Yes, some serious trial and error happening. We did do a tech check. That's the fun part. And it was working perfectly. But anyway, we're going to be talking with Avital. She grew up in Miami and followed a strong path to software development until she moved to Tel Aviv, and then discovered the world of DevRel. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today, is that journey of discovery, if you will. And she is responsible for the Israeli community at Vonage, which is super cool. And she spends a ton of time there kind of talking about like storytelling for tech, through tech. The art of storytelling, we all know as a prior English teacher, is my jam. So I'm super stoked for the conversation if it happens. Oh, hello, Aaron Bassett. Yes, you are going to be streaming also later today, correct? You want to give yourself a shout out? Oh, wait, you're not on the stream. You can't. I'm looking at him through through the lens, being like, do you want to say tell the chat when you're streaming? Because yeah, big announcement over in the New Relic world today. They're on a 24-hour stream. So you're going to be up in the middle of the night, and I'm not. But super supportive of it. Happy for you. Anyway, let's see. Who do we have today? Clarkson, come here. Do you want to? Nope, don't want to be on the stream? Totally get it. I get it. Don't bark though. Maybe he'll join us. Oh, no. What did I just say? Audi 3000. Go. Oh, I know. Do you want to come? Nope. Okay, bye. Avital is still. Yeah, he's like wild animal right now. All right. You good to try again? Here she is. What should I do? You can't find a mic. Let's see if you can join us. Hello?
So,
Whoa, you sound like you're underwater now. That's okay. 24-hour streams is wild. I am stoked for the effort that will take. And it's wildly impressive. We, Vonage devs, for the only thing we did comparable to that was for Hacktoberfest. And we streamed every day. And that felt like a feat in itself, which it was. I'm super proud of that endeavor because it was a really cool way to be supportive of the open source projects that folks were doing, because we were kind of looking at the recent pull requests and going through PRs on the stream. And I think I'm already excited for October again, but it's still January. What is time? The other day I had to think about what season I was in. Also, that's hard because I live in Miami, and that is we don't have seasons. We do hurricane season and we're not in hurricane season just yet. Are we? No. See, I have no clue or concept of what time is. I think we all are there and we can pretty much relate to that. But okay, she says 20 seconds. Okay. That's fine. I got you, girl. I'm just kicking it with my buds. Where are you all watching from? That's a fun question that I'm curious about. James, where are you located? I can't remember that. I think I know. Ooh, should I try and guess? Memphis. I wouldn't have guessed that. For some reason, I was thinking, not Memphis, Atlanta. Pittsburgh. Ooh, Memphis, Pittsburgh. Thank you for bringing up that question, Noreen. As some of you know, this is a journey that we are going on with Aaron and his stream as well. We're not going super well. We've stagnated. We have been at the same stage of the shed for weeks now. It's going to be our really cool home office with like cool stream lights, and it's, outside away from the house. So we have like a commute. You're watching in from the porch. Yeah. Funny. Yes, we've said that we're going to go, the only activity we're going to do this weekend is we're going to ride bikes and go to the record store because we got a new record player, which we're super excited about. But then the other thing we're going to do is finish the frickin' shed. So hopefully next week I'm going to be streaming from the shed. Try me now, Avital says. Oh, okay. Let's do it. What up?
How's this?
It's great.
So much for our sound check. I went into panic mode.
No, you did a great job. What's up? Oh my gosh. I was like, wow, we're going to be not doing the stream today.
That delay. Lauren and I did meet a while ago for a sound check, but tech.
You know what? It is like the times. It is totally cool. I'm so happy we made it. Yes, Aaron, let's go on a Home Depot date tonight. We can finish the shed, get the materials. I'm like super happy that we're here now. So I did read your bio, by the way.
I heard that.
Okay, cool.
I kind of know all of it. So
yeah, well, sure. So I don't think you need to be caught up to speed on who you are. But let's go back in time. Like, tell me about your journey from like here to there, if you will. But let's go back to Miami. What are you studying in school? Like, what are we dreaming of being a regional developer advocate at that moment? Walk me through it.
Ever? Let's see. I'm starting at age 14, Miami.
Oh, let's go further back. No, just kidding. Okay, yeah, great, totally. Sure. I was born on. Okay,
actually, 6. So I was born in Miami to immigrant Israeli parents who, my dad would get really excited about technology and like any new gadget on the market he'd bring home for me, his eldest, smartest daughter. And I had this like flat screen computer when I was pretty young. And then
so cool.
They'd get me all of these Israeli video games, Israeli everything, Israeli Mavis Beacon, just to like make sure I still speak Hebrew by the time I grew up. And I do, it worked.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And so I fall in love with this like computer thing and the games and everything. And I'm like, one day I'm going to build a game. And at the age of 14, they decide that it's inappropriate for me to have internet access in my bedroom. And so my dad firewalls the internet. And I, being a resourceful, smart, motivated teenager, and all I really did was to get on AIM and talk to my friends.
I gotcha. AIM was life.
AIM was life. And then there was like the one I spoke to with my Israeli cousins. I don't remember what it was called. I think it was like by Hotmail. Okay. And so I would go to the library and like Google things and come home and figure out how to essentially get on the internet. And I was successful. And I'm, in the middle of the night logging on to AIM to talk to my friends after pretending I'd gone to sleep.
Oh, I'm so familiar. Oh, yeah.
Totally walks in on me. Here's like the ding. And he's like, "Are you on the internet?" I went to Beis Yaakov, Miami, if that tells you anything. It was a high school for Jewish Orthodox girls. I got kicked out numerous times. I did graduate from there.
That's cool. You did some workshops in Miami, though. I just learned about a cool program called Code Art Miami that is doing cool code workshops, like art integration, and it is like the Miami tech scene seems to be like buzzing. Yeah. Okay. Now it is. Yeah, before for sure. That is really funny, and I mean,
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. Go ahead.
We basically continued on this path for a while where like they would take down the internet. My dad got so mad he like cut the blue cord, the LAN cord, and then I went to Radio Shack and like bought pieces for like putting it back together. We did this till 12th grade. We did this till 12th grade, like cat and mouse all the way. And then he was like, you win, here's the Wi-Fi password. And
Great.
at this point, I still had no idea, like, you know, I wasn't even going to go to college. I had no idea computer science was a thing. You know, my parents I don't even know if they finished high school. Like they came to the States pretty young and, you know, it's definitely not something they spoke to me about. And we went to sign me up for the community, like for the local Jewish college as a psych major, because that's pretty much all they had. And when I told them that I like computers, they were like, well, you could study graphic design as a minor. And so I was set out to be a psych major, and none of it makes sense.
Well, it feels like there's a gendered thing that happens. Like I'm interested in computers and then they put you in graphic design. Like, were you interested in graphic design?
I had edited the high school yearbook.
Okay, sure. I don't know. That just seems, like that is you hear countless times again, over and over of folks that like were steered in directions by adults telling them like what the path was and what that should look like if their interest is in tech.
Computers.
Yeah, giving them like a very particular lens to do that. And interesting.
And what do we really even know? At this point, I'd never even heard of computer science.
Exactly. It's like more of it's not gatekeeping, but it is in a way because it's like the exposure that it even exists is pretty wild. Yeah, it's interesting. So, so did you like those courses?
I didn't end up taking them. What ended up happening is I went to Israel for my gap year, which is, I can't even explain what we do on this gap year. It's just whatever, more Jewish studies and like trips around the country, build up your Zionism. I don't know.
I love it. Sounds fun.
And my friends were like, and at this point I was also doing things on like my gap year school program internet in order to get us access to Facebook and things like that we weren't allowed to access. So everyone's like, we don't understand why you're studying psychology. And I said, you know, that's what the offering was.
Right.
And a bunch of my friends convinced me to apply to Yeshiva University, which is like the one big Jewish college in New York, where they were all going. And I was like, you know, it's March. And a friend of mine was like, well, my aunt is the dean. I will take you to meet her for coffee. And we sit down in front of the dean and she says, what are you interested in? And at this point, I'm kind of like stuck on psychology. So I say, I'm going to study psychology. And my friend says, nah, she likes computers. And then
this is what friends are for. Like an advocate. Is what friends are for. Totally. To like be like, you know, that was just kind of force fed to you.
Yes.
What you really spend your time and interest doing is in tech. Like,
totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. James,
totally
yes.
Like that line where she was like, Avital likes computers and I'm not seeing, like, there's no way she's doing anything else. And the dean, her aunt, says, well, have you heard of computer science? And I say, what's computer science? She says, what's your favorite software? And I'm thinking, I guess Photoshop. She says, you could build something like Photoshop. And I'm like,
ding, 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 ding. Yep. Got it. Cool. That's awesome. Oh man. So I take it you then got into that. You like went to that.
She was like, don't worry, you're in.
You're in.
It was very hard.
Nice.
She's like, you took your SATs? I was like, I took my SATs. And
this 100%. That feeling of like, I can make that. I can learn the skills to build. And then like, I always am I feel like I'm yelling this from the rooftop sometimes. Like it is the most like creative expression sometimes because it unleashes this ability to build anything. And back to that, like, it's my new message to people that are interested in computer stuff. I love it.
You can build it.
What do you like? Build it. Yeah.
Build it. Though at this point I was like, well, I played a lot of Halo in my internet nights.
Nice.
And I was like, maybe I can build video games. I soon learned that you have to be really good at linear algebra for video games, and I wasn't. Not the point. Anyway, so I'm in this girls' school. I'm still like, Yeshiva University is basically like, it's a pretty big university, but it's split into girls' campus and boys' campus. And there are 3 girls studying computer science.
Yeah.
3. So all of my classes are taught by the same teacher. At some point, they wanted to close it and switch us to math. And, I led a campaign against computer science is not math. And I recruited a bunch of other girls to join as minor, whatever.
Cool.
Finished that, yeah. And it was great. I remember calling my mom from the first day of Comp Sci 101 and being like, Mom, I was meant to learn this language.
Oh, that's incredible.
You love telling people that story. I'm like, that's so embarrassing.
Oh, the feeling where you're fine. Like, I think a lot of teenagehood is spent answering adults of like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it feels, and I think even like into later years, this like forced like pressure to know.
Yeah.
And it really sucks if you don't have the language or haven't discovered what it is yet that like lights you up. And it feels incredible when you can suddenly name it and say, wait, that's it. That's what I love. And I want to pursue that. And I'm going to like fight to figure out and make sure that the major stays open and that it continues on. Like, it's the thing to then advocate for. And it feels, empowering.
It was empowering. It was empowering to be asked if I have other boy hobbies. It was empowering to get, we won't talk about that. It was empowering to get other girls into the like computer science minor. And like, I even recruited a teacher because we didn't have any.
You were like, we need people to learn from, please. I'm
giving a bad rep to my university. It was a great time. I was taught really well.
Stop. No, we don't have to apologize for that. If there's only 3 people in a major, like that is, that you have to look back at, I'm putting on my, like, I was an educator lens. That's on the institution, right? To figure that out too. That's a systemic institutional problem. And a student shouldn't be finding the solution. That's on them. Like, you stepped into that role, right? Yeah. Like, which is awesome. And I mean, I bet if you did a comparative study of their boys' school.
Yeah. And I wasn't even allowed to join their classes. Yeah. So that was what was frustrating for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Luckily, a friend of mine named, hi Greg, a friend of mine named Miriam, who ended up staying to do a double major. She like led a huge movement for women in STEM, and I think really grew the major after I left. So shout out to Miriam.
Yay, Miriam. Yay. No, that's great. I think it is a really cool thing to celebrate those successes because it's a feat in itself. That's really fascinating. So you finished your program and like got a comp sci
in graphic design.
Ding, there she is.
Ended up taking over half my major, whatever, because they were like, we have no classes, so you could take photography and call it computer, whatever.
Yeah.
I know Photoshop a little well. I finished. I got, my first job, which I hated. Again, no guidance around this. Finally, I got into my first like real tech company in New York. So at this point, I was living on the Upper East Side. I got into this tech company. They were like, we don't have juniors in our company. Everyone is a like regular developer. We pay you like a regular developer. You are like legit in our eyes. I know it was, again, super empowering. And it really also makes you not want to act like a junior. And they took me from like Java graduate to Java developer. A little bit of Scala also. And in this time, and this is kind of like where the continuation of the story and part 2 kind of begins. Sure. So to paint this picture, I had just graduated from a Jewish university after growing up in a Jewish home, and
Mhm.
now I was living in the wild, wild big city of New York, and
Mhm.
suddenly there was no structure and there was no built-in classes and just built-in bubble. And
Yeah.
my roommate and I had like we would try to go to these like I don't know Jewish classes, Jewish events just to feel like whatever connection we had when we were growing up, and they were also lacking. And a friend of mine says, you know, why don't you do it yourself? You've studied
Mhm.
so much. Like you were great at like Bible classes and like memorizing facts and all of this stuff. Just give it yourself. And I was like,
What did that
okay.
look like for you though? Like, what did that, you were like, I'll just recreate what I
Well,
liked,
I
or
basically wanted to give what I would have wanted in a class. And I had been to one class out of like the 20 that I attended that I actually enjoyed. And I was like, can I come back? And they were like, oh, we only do this once a quarter, you know?
Mhm.
And so I was like, that was awesome. And I want that to exist for me. So I'm sure other people would want it to exist as well.
Sure.
And what that looked like was just a super informal, like, class in which you can also gain some motivation, where you can obviously make connections and have a beer while you're at it. Like that was my goal.
What do you mean when you're saying that? Like, what is it that you're teaching? What's the content there?
So a little bit on like Jewish scripts and stuff. So the Torah, right? So it's split into like sections read on every week, where it starts from Genesis all the way till the end.
Just you kind of walk through that piece.
So every week there's like the official reading of the week, and I would essentially kind of teach it, but in a story form, in a fun way with like silly PowerPoints. And then at the end, I would be like, you know, which reminds us to look kindly at each other because we don't know, you know, what your friends are going through. And like, I would make everything about one specific takeaway. And it was 20
I
minutes
see.
and
Okay.
people loved it.
It's nice.
Yeah.
It's
And
so
it started with,
community
like, 4
driven.
people.
Like, yeah,
So
I
that's
mean, you
where
got
I
to
was
start
going.
small. Like, well,
That's where I was
it
going.
reminds me of Ben and Yakiel's the Torah and Tech
Yeah.
community that they, and it, I've had both of them now on my podcast. And I was like, how do you all come up with content? They were like, luckily there's enough like each week of the Torah, it breaks down the topic and you can stay with, I was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. And
Right.
it was like,
So
it's
sometimes
timely.
it's really easy. It's like, you know, Moses led the Jewish people out of Egypt. And some weeks it's like super dry. And then I would have to work really hard to,
Like,
you know,
make it interesting.
glorify it. Yeah. Some weeks I was just like, summer vacation, go home. We're not having a session this week.
Sure.
But the really cool thing that I'm like, I had no intention of creating a community. I invited 4 of my best friends over for pizza. They were like, we like it. Can we bring friends next week?
Sure.
And the following week, there were 12 people in my New York City apartment, and suddenly there were 30, 40, 50. And
Oh
my
my
last
gosh.
week, right before I left, there were like 150 people. We had to do it at a friend's apartment.
I love it.
Yeah, it was like, wow, I just built a community without intending to, only because I was offering what I wanted.
Exactly. And I think too, it's like when it's organically grown that way, it feels so
Real.
Yeah. And authentic and just like what people want. Yeah. I love it. I love it.
So that's
okay.
one of my big takeaways.
What did you, why did you said you left? Right when you left, where'd you go then?
I went to Israel, where I am right now. I was kind of hitting this. I felt that I had everything. I felt that I had like the cool job and the cool apartment, and I'd started this community, and the community had actually expanded to like a few of the boroughs.
That's cool.
Yeah, at first it was Torah Tuesday on the Upper East Side, and then it became Torah West Side. I don't know what they called it, and it was like Torah Tuesday in the BK for Brooklyn.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I felt that I'd like done this thing, and I felt like I was still chasing my tail in a very New York City kind of way, and I just needed to move somewhere. And the very obvious answer was, you know, for tech scene, Hebrew speaking, half of my family lives here. There wasn't even a question about it. Like I picked up and moved so easily. And
What year was that? Did you make the move?
it was November 2015.
Okay. And then did you come with a job, or were you like, I'm going to uproot and go and I'll find something there?
I started interviewing when I was in New York still, but it's like you're not totally there. You're thinking about the 5 pockets you need to fit all your clothes in. And I think it's 4 actually.
Oh my gosh.
And none of that really, it took me, it was hard at first because I kind of, you have these like big fantasies about moving to a big city that you'd like show up and be like, Avital in Tel Aviv, and everyone would greet me and offer me all of the jobs.
Sure. Yeah. And you have a cute soundtrack playing in the background.
Totally. And
I
like
been there.
bike.
Oh yeah. Sure.
And it like did not pan out. And I arrived there the first day, there was like a sandstorm. And I was like, what is this?
What am I doing?
And I went home for New Year's. Home to Miami because my mom was like, just come cry to your mama.
Sure.
And I came back again. And then within 2 weeks, I had a couple job offers, all as a software engineer. I guess I just like had this renewed energy. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the recharge thing. It's so important.
Yeah.
Quick, James, toss that video link of what you just published. We'll share it with the world because that's always exciting. Anyway, okay, cool. So you found a role eventually.
So I found a role. It was not great for me because I was a back-end developer, and they were like, "Don't worry, we'll let you do back-end," but really they did not want me to, and we ended up fighting. Whatever. First job when you move to a country.
Yeah, you can use it as a.
It was totally like a landing spot. I made a lot of friends, still friends with a lot of people from there, a lot of good connections. And then after that, I worked at a Seattle-based company that had an Israel office here.
Oh, cool.
And, yeah. And
that was Tune, right?
That was Tune.
Yeah.
Mobile marketing attribution company. So I'd been to Seattle a few times through onboarding and stuff like that. Love Seattle. Seattle's a great city.
Me too.
And
I'm now getting an echo. Are you all?
I have not moved.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm nervous about. You're getting it too? I think I'll just speak quietly because it's probably coming out through your end. I think it could be me. It's very faint. Okay, cool. A tiny one. Okay, so you liked that work?
Yes and no, and this is kind of the part that kicks us off into DevRel. I was on a small team of developers working on some lab, like some beta software, where my job was to do hundreds of API integrations into the platform. Mm-hmm. And this was my foray into the big wide world of API documentation.
Yeah.
The big dark world of API documentation.
I love it.
Oh my gosh. I have seen some bad things.
Of course. That's the fun part. It's like now we get to make it. Yeah, it can get wild. It can get scattered and messy really quick.
I had no idea that there were people responsible for these things. I thought it was just like, well, obviously, clearly, sometimes it's just like the developers who wrote the code just scrapped together something so that someone can use it. And and it was a lot of my work was made really difficult through bad documentation. And when Tune closed its Israel office, I had this wake up moment. And I still don't know anything about DevRel. And I'm like, I can either go continue interviewing at software engineering roles and just become a developer again, or I can try to change my life, because at this point I knew that I wanted to work with people. I wanted to help people. I wanted a more like one-on-one relationship. I wanted to write content. I wanted to speak publicly. I hadn't really gotten back into giving classes after leaving New York, and I really
missed the community side of it.
I missed the community, except I didn't know how to put that in words. So I kept asking my boss to put me on calls with customers, not really knowing what I was looking for.
Totally.
So,
yeah. I mean, it is back to not knowing how the language of it, or like not knowing how to name what my passion is. It's so limiting sometimes, because it's like, how do you then find the role if you don't have the SEO search? Like, how do you find a job then that matches that? And it probably took meeting someone in DevRel, I imagine.
not even. I was going to all of these product manager interviews, customer success architect, like
Sure. Yeah.
all of the things.
Mhm.
And everyone was like, you kind of fit, but kind of not. And like, you're a little overqualified, you're a little underqualified, all of the things. And I was like, fine, I'm going to go interview as a Python developer, because how many months can I go unemployed? And I bump into a friend and her colleague, and I kind of tell them what I'm going through. And he says, my previous company is looking for a developer evangelist.
Okay. So then you're like, what? Because I remember the first time hearing evangelist, I think was from Chloe Condon at a RubyConf. And I think I thought it was religious. I think I thought it had something to do with like the intersection of religion and tech. And I was like, what? Wait, what?
My friends heard about it. One of them said, what, like, may the Lord protect us from the edge case?
That's good. Yeah, it's confusing. I remember, and that was a really hot term. And it's like, yeah, totally. That is so funny. I love that. Yeah. Okay. Exactly. Right. Okay. So we've all had that moment when we were like, what?
I hear this. I don't know what it means. I know that it has developer in the title and something else. And this is interesting.
Right.
And on the cab ride home from this interview, I look up the job title, like the description, and it says things like, you love tech, but you love people, you love public speaking, you want to build a community, you're passionate about this and this, you want to write documentation. And I'm like,
and that felt like, yeah, that's the shining moment where you're like, oh, now I have a word for it.
This was it. It was, I just, like, to this day, I remember sitting in the back of that cab and like my hands are shaking because this has been posted like 3 days ago, and I have to be this is my job. Like no one else can have this. This is mine. And it was a 9-minute bike ride from my apartment in Tel Aviv.
Perfect. Amazing.
Connected to everyone, basically.
To land it. You're like, yeah. I love those feelings. First of all, like, I think that there's something really magical about when you find something like that and you get like you can go all in on it, and you're like, I want it, and I am going to make this happen. And the last time I felt that really intensely was when I found about my coding boot camp, Ada Developers Academy in Seattle, because it's a fully funded program for women and gender diverse folks, and a year long versus like a short kind of boot camp one. And I heard about it, and it was like that same feeling of like, I have to go here. I have to attend this. I have to be a part of it. And I went all like eggs, no other egg existed in any other basket. Like it was full force, because it's just like it feels cool to have a calling.
Yeah. It felt like a calling.
I love it.
It was it was kind of like how I called my mom and told her I was born to learn this language. I was born to be in this role.
You felt back to that feeling. Yeah. What a energizing feeling that is. Like to discover passions.
Totally.
I mean, sometimes I get really like oddly wholesome on this, and I feel like I'm speaking in cliche all the time, but I just like, I also love it. Like no, yeah, exactly. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, Lauren, cool it. But like, it does feel really great. And I don't know. Yeah. So in the chat, we're talking about the difference between evangelism and advocate, and I totally hear you, Erin. I think this is an interesting point, like someone shouting, sharing versus an advocate being someone who hears from community and participates in it equally, authentically, and is in between versus here's my product, use it, and not allowing for the concept to exist that there might be another solution that might be better fit for you. And I think as advocates care about like discovering what is the best situation and solution for each individual problem and being an advocate for that over anything else.
Completely.
Yeah.
I somehow ended up going to Tokyo for DevRelCon Tokyo. I think that was their first one.
Yeah.
And this was right after I had my developer evangelist business cards printed. Super old school. And I'm at the conference, and it's like my first introduction to DevRelCon, and more DevRel people. I was kind of out of it until then, and people were like, developer evangelist is super outdated. And you're like, boss, like, we need to change my business card.
Switch it. Yeah. But thank goodness for DevRelCon and, everything that they're doing for that. I mean, I remember also attending San Francisco the year you taught or you spoke. And maybe you've spoken to others, but I remember, I felt like, oh, this is a quick crash course for me for 101 of what this industry is. And it is obviously then for folks who've been in it longer, a great way to engage in dialogue too about it. Like it's for each level that we're all at, valuable.
For each level, for each company, for the size of your team. At the time, I was a one-person DevRel team. This is totally different than what we're experiencing now in Vonage.
Okay, so tell me about that. Like being a one person, how did you decide priorities of like what to do? Or because it's easy to burn out in the space if you are asked to speak at every conference, write every content piece, and write tutorials, and now add Twitch to it and add YouTube. James, like how did you decide of the like community events, marketing, sales, product, like all the things? How did you decide what to focus on?
So luckily I got to kind of decide my role.
Yeah.
I didn't go to a conference if I didn't feel that I could do it.
Great.
Or anything like that.
Able to protect yourself.
I started with what I felt was urgent, and my interview assignment, which why did I even need to do that? I was like the only applicant. My interview assignment required me to write some app using the company's API, and
awesome.
The documentation was lacking. And the first thing I did when I started was I rewrote the entire developer portal. Like the getting started, the recipes, one article at a time. I broke down a lot of things over there. So now, because like I've done so many rewrites, the entire thing looks like it was written by me, even though it's not the case. And then I did all of the marketing videos, like all of the developer marketing videos. I soon discovered that I like being on camera. I did a lot of voiceovers. I like suddenly discovered a lot of skills that I was able to put towards the job. And look at that, graphic design came in handy for the email.
Hey, yeah. That's awesome though. I mean, I think when given the runway to define it, like what a cool thing to discover what you're interested in then too, because like you don't have someone saying like you need to be I don't know what's an example of something.
Going to 10 conferences a quarter
and burning out in that way. No, you were like, okay, I can, like this is how I'm defining what our DevRel looks like. Does Kaltura still have a DevRel presence?
Not really. It's become very, very marketing based, and they've kind of like taken my role and split it into 3 people.
Mm-hmm. Into like marketing, sales, and like content marketing.
Kind of.
Such is the way. Yeah.
And it makes sense because the company's growing and I was like one person and I couldn't like in the time that I was there, I couldn't run a Kaltura event. Like that's something I didn't do and something that's huge in my role now, but I will get there. We're not there yet. One thing I do want to say, and what's cool about DevRel and even being a one-person team or like the whole space in general, it really, really finds you, I believe, where your skills are at because it is so dynamic. You get to so many hats, unless, generally you're not being forced to do things that are totally outside of like your skill set because it is so wide. So for some people that means, I love writing documentation. I don't do it today. I could have continued writing documentation for another few years for sure.
Sure.
Some people love that. Some people love being on stage. People love writing. I didn't love writing as much as I actually started getting into it now. But again, like it was one of those things that I didn't think I'd ever want to do. And it really, it's just a really cool space to be in if you're one of those people who always like touching a lot of things, learning a lot of things. If you felt that's, one specific track wasn't ever for you.
Right. Or limiting, like it felt like you're just not then having a creative outlet for some. Yeah, I think that's so true. And it's exciting too for folks to discover. Yeah. Totally. So, okay. So why make the leap? Why decide to go from a team of one to, our DevRel team is pretty big. It's not the biggest by any means, but wow, we have in the world of 30 something of us. So why join a larger team like that?
For actually the opposite reason, I wanted to kind of
specialize. Yeah. No. It's good to see it all and then decide what you like.
Yeah.
Fair.
I got offered a really interesting role here, which is focused only on Israel. And I felt that given my 5 years here, but also just my Israeli background in general, but also my like American English side, which is seen as somewhat like, I don't know, exotic here a little, not even so much. I'm not as exotic as I wish I was. I felt that this was like a really interesting challenge. I felt that I had stayed away from events all this time because I was scared. And so events would kind of pull me out of my comfort zone. I felt like it was a really terrifying role. And I think that's why I went for it.
I think that's a cool practice, right? Push yourself into something uncomfortable. It is going to be scary. You are going to feel like a fish out of water, and that like probably some major imposter syndrome, self-doubt. But like that's where cool stuff happens, and where you learn and you make mistakes and you grow. Like, it's what life's about, really.
Yeah.
Cool. Good for you. That's awesome.
It's still terrifying. It's very terrifying.
I'm still terrified every day. Shh, don't tell anyone.
I know. Like, how many people in this office know that I'm actually like have no idea what I'm doing, and
I think we all are, and that's awesome because I think the louder we can be about that, like the more humanizing it is too. Like, it'd be easy to assume from the outside that like, what you're doing. And I think that, I don't know, it's a cool reminder of like, it's awesome to learn on the job and to explore and to make mistakes publicly and then learn from them. I think that that's okay. And what does it look like now to be a regional, like specific? What does day-to-day look like? And what, tell me more about that kind of lens, if you will.
Try not to knock my mic over again.
Oh, it's okay.
It started as a very simple task, expand into the Israel market, let them know who we are, what our offering is, engage with them, find out what the community needs, find out where we can fulfill those needs. Essentially just make a lot of noise.
Be public. Yeah.
Be public.
Yeah.
If you love being on stage, go for it. Just
then do it. Yeah.
Which was like a huge, and when I started interviewing for this role, it was at the beginning when we were like, Corona's going to be over soon, right? So it didn't cross my mind that being public would be as difficult as it is now.
Yeah, that it's all gone online.
Here we are. So at first I thought I would start with our customers and see what they're up to and our Israel customers and see what they're up to and see what they need.
Mhm.
And those conversations, they were kind of hard to reach, and those conversations took me to places like, where sales would get involved, and I realized that wasn't where I wanted to be going, and that wasn't
Sure.
kind of, that it just wasn't what I was here for, to like be CC'd on salespeople emails. Hello. And so actually, Michael and I did speak about this at the time. And then
I'm just so curious because all of my other teammates, y'all are in a team call right now. How's that going? Or are you mute?
They're all playing games.
Oh, is that what they're doing right now? Okay. I swear I'll join in. Look who it is. Come here, Clark. No, you don't want? Okay. You don't want to be on? All right. Got it.
Cool. Not interested.
He's playing very like.
Doesn't want to be public.
I get it. Yes. Okay. So it didn't work to talk to the customer. And that makes sense.
Makes sense. I just thought it was a good place to start. No, you're supposed to listen to us.
Whoops. But that's okay.
I had a moment where I kind of had to come to my manager and be like, I was wrong and I'm starting over. And this was literally 2 months after I started. So I was kind of like uncomfortable and sheepish, but better in the first 2 months than in
publicly making mistakes, right? Like learning from them, leaning into that and saying, yep, I want to go a different direction.
Yeah. I felt like I was backing up, starting over. And I was like, okay, what do I have?
Awesome.
We have a pretty cool offering. We've got a lot of online events. We've got really, really talented developers in this office. We've got really talented developers. They have a lot of content to share. And the first thing I did was I just worked on spending a lot of time in the office, which was open in the summer, and
building those relationships.
Building relationships, finding out like what the developers in the office want to share, how I can get them out there. Do they want to get out there? Do they want to become better speakers? Do they want to become better writers?
Sure.
Because
how do we help
what
them?
I've got is developers, and I've got their connections, and I've got their, I've got all of their value and their wisdom and everything that they're doing. Like I haven't been writing code for a while, so the stuff that I put together isn't going to be half as good. So
interesting. Yeah, no, that's a really interesting like way to spend, and it's really smart time because it's investing in that community and being present. And it can feel like a time suck though, but it's not.
At the time it did. Like, is anyone going to look at me and being like, why is the new girl just talking to people all day?
Sure.
Why so many coffees on the porch?
Like, because I'm chatting and I'm getting to know y'all, and I want to help figure out how to amplify what cool work you're all doing. And like, I think that's such an interesting and important time well spent.
It was great. It was great the first time like not a random person, someone I hadn't met yet came up to me and asked if I want to come, eat with them at lunch. Just like realizing that I was no longer the new girl, and that was really nice.
I love it.
So, and then I could start asking questions like, so which of you want to talk at the next meetup at like, JavaScript Israel?
Oh, cool. So then you're helping amplify their stories and what they're working on, which is so important and interesting. Like it is helping then, build a presence in that tech community too, which is kind of like the whole thing.
For them. It's branding for them. Mm-hmm. It's, teaching them how to get out there. And we started doing, because I wanted to public speaking to be a little less scary and stigmatized. We started doing office talks every 2 weeks where people just share fun stuff they're interested in. So someone gave a talk about like how he got into music, and he, playing sound bites for us, like kind of a music theory session. And
awesome.
About like, do aliens exist? The answer is we don't know.
I think it's a cool, like being able to do kind of like, even just if you think of it as a lightning talk or something like that, like, hey, just give it a shot. Like I popped in the command spotlight because we have a program for folks to submit tutorials that they have written using our APIs, and we'll pay you to then be published on our blog. But I think like the reason to do it, people are always giving the advice like, oh, you want to be in tech, or you want to enter DevRel, or just like get your name out there as right. Be kind of documenting what you're learning and putting it into a blog. If you can then be spotlighted into like a corporation's version of their blog content, like that's
pretty cool for you.
Yeah. So I think like lean into, that's a resume builder or CV builder, if you will. So yeah, take advantage of it when, big corporations are like, sure, come on in. You can write for charity as well. Thank you. Thank you.
This is true.
Thank you. Erin was our first dev spotlighter for donation. So we appreciate you.
James,
yes.
We're waiting for yours.
Get on. Yes.
I've been writing a lot of blog posts because Hebrew.
Yeah. I appreciate that also, by the way.
So if anyone needs help, I've had a lot of practice in the last few months.
Absolutely. And you've created videos for us too, by the way.
I love doing the videos.
You're doing it all. And
videos are my jam.
But I love it. And I think we need to really enter more into that space this year. That's a big push. So I love it and appreciate it. Like YouTube, because we have these like 2-hour-long videos of how to do stuff. We all don't have time to get through that sometimes. So the shorter content. Yes.
2 hours is a long time.
Totally. I mean, exactly. If anyone has made it this long while watching us, appreciate you. Like it's harder to, not that we're going through a tutorial or anything right now either, but I think, just like hitting folks wherever they're at or whatever they're needing is an important thing to think about within the DevRel space. It sounds like a really interesting problem that you get to solve each day though. So that's awesome. Like it sounds really fulfilling and different and interesting in a way. I think it's like important to find roles where we feel engaged, terrified and curious, but also like that we're growing. I think it's super boring to plateau. And so it is cool that it sounds like this is like pushing you in a different way.
Completely.
I love it.
Been a lot. It's been challenging. It's been fun. I'm excited for what's coming. Now that I've built up my little foundation with all of the chats and coffees.
Yeah. Thanks, Noreen, for the plug. Can always count on you for check it out. We have a new series of 1 dev minute, bite-sized bits of info in the world of how to use our APIs every Monday. Check it out. I mean, it is like, and DevRel has had to adapt, right? With COVID and a pandemic, it's just like we've had to evolve and kind of like learn from how to exist for our community authentically when we can't just like be at a conference with y'all.
Yeah. So much easier, but I think it really like demands for us to give value
content. Yeah. To like not be,
and not just rely on chatting and swag at a conference booth.
Yeah. Right.
Kind of empty.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more. Like really genuinely helping folks. And that brings it back to the original goal that sometimes we get lost at.
Helping folks.
Yeah. Actually improving the lives of developers' experiences.
Yeah.
Cool to return back to that.
We do forget that. I think that when people ask me, like, how do I get into DevRel? How did you get there? What are the steps? There are lots of steps. I think in some places you could just apply and, it shouldn't be that hard because there's such a shortage. But the thing to remember is, assuming that you're coming from a development space, it's all about looking at what's lacking for you and your peers and people who are doing things that are similar to you and trying to fix that. And if it's documentation, if you're going to events and they're not fun, how do you run an event that's more fun?
Exactly. Yeah. So filling the gaps, filling the holes. I think that is just be like very present in your communities and identify them, like just start doing it yourself and then you're your own shop. Like it's as you did, right? Like that's great advice.
Like the 4 people in the pizza.
Exactly. And then you're able to talk about that in interviews. Like that's real tangible demonstration of community building. And that's super invaluable. Erin, it's a fair point. It's time for you to start buying some shirts. You've got some holes in some. You can't rely on conferences to get those. Ben on our team made the joke the other day. He was like, oh, I just got some Vonage socks. Thank goodness. Like we've run out of socks because we don't have the like conference swag. Oh, are we? Yes. Heck yeah. I love it. I love it.
I got them too. It's a nice rainy day in Tel Aviv.
So why you changed jobs to get welcome swag? Oh my goodness.
I got so many socks this year for Christmas. I've never gotten so many socks in my life, even at conferences.
We are going to be having, I don't know if I want to announce this yet. We might be doing some giveaways of socks, just some Twitch specific that each I know I don't have the prototype. It's in the mail right now, but I'm really stoked actually. It's going to be each streamer is going to have an allowance to give them. So, Erin, we this year instead of socks this year for Christmas though, we got 1,000,000 koozies, like the holders for drinks, the like insulated.
Why do you need 1,000,000?
I'm not sure. Every single family member got us. We have a full pantry full of like White Claw holders. So I think we're just your
hands are not going to get hot or cold.
And we I think our brand and the family is like, we like a good time on the boat and you need a cool beverage for that. And so they're like, yeah, we can. Socks might be a little bit. Yeah. It's
forgot about that for a sec.
Exactly. We've got the sunshine, we got the boat, and we got a cool beverage. It's an accurate brand. Yeah, that's the brand of the family. Clarkson, are you ready to be on screen? Nope. Okay, just kidding. You let me know when you're ready. He's like hopping towards me and then hopping away. So okay, cool. You do you.
He's warming up. He's warming up for the spotlight.
No barking. We don't bark. Not when we're streaming. It'd be so cool if we could teach them to like, okay, lights on, streaming. No, bro. No. All right. Anyway, so what are you right now? I know you're working on storytelling, technical storytelling. That's kind of your big push. Tell me about that piece. And what that looks like.
It started in the height of lockdown. It's been a while. I spent time at quite a few conferences, and I remember there was a friend that I was going to a lot of conferences with, and I remember just running back to her booth one day and being like, I am so misled by all of these awesome talk titles that turn into really boring talks.
They're like clickbaity.
They're so clickbaity.
1 second, I'm going to yell at my dog.
I don't know
if
you can hear.
Oh, no. He's right there.
Okay.
Erin's grabbing him.
Just really boring talks that, could have had a lot, of potential and turned into no fun. And I felt that
I've been there.
I felt that, we're taught public speaking, 101 in college.
If that.
And then if you're in marketing or if you're in business dev, it's super, it's one of those things. You get like some public speaking coach and it costs thousands of dollars so that you can become a better speaker. But that doesn't exist in tech because, we're assuming that if I can explain my latest, JavaScript application to a bunch of developers, they're going to understand what I'm talking about because I understand what I'm talking about.
We speak those same languages. Yeah.
Exactly. But we don't actually. And the problem is that People,
Totally.
when they're writing something, when they're building something, when they're stuck in something, and this isn't just for developers, it's, artists, someone who's painting something, someone who's building something, cooking something, you're so inside of what you're creating that it's very hard to see it from a different perspective. And this is why, first of all, we do like the dry runs, I forgot what we call them. And why you should always like run your talk by someone else, because half the time you're missing like the main point just because you think it's so obvious to yourself that you just don't think of the fact that you forgot to mention the main point. And that actually happened to me when I first started giving talks in my previous role. I went to my first API conference in Austin, and I was like obviously a mess, and I'm trying to like take what I learned from these Torah classes and apply it to this talk, but it's just not working. And at the end of the session for the Q&A, someone asked me a question, and I looked at her. I was like, did I not
say that in the talk?
The one important thing.
I think that assumption thing is so dangerous, because it's like, you're like, okay, we're at an AP conference.
Assumption. It's just, we're just not there. We're just not thinking about it.
Yeah.
And we're just like, I'm going to talk about this thing that I'm super passionate about. And other people hopefully are also going to be passionate about it, but they're not. And I ran through a bunch of ideas and platforms we could use, and like open sourcing this, how to get developers to give better talks. Is it just about developers? There's a whole movement around storytelling today, as all of you know. If you joined the storytelling workshop this week, one of those also is really cool. So like that's gotten really hot, especially now for some reason during COVID. And I realized there's no one really focusing on it for tech. Like, sure, the stories, the telling is the same, but the stories are different. And you have to approach them in different ways. And so I started kind of working with my friends who are developers to prep talks that they're about to give, where I, have a little formula for, we're not there yet.
Okay.
Little formula for kind of reaching like the story that you want to build. What's the use case? What's the edge case? Who stands to gain from this? Who stands to lose from this? They are the people you should be focusing from the very first second of
I
your
love
talk.
that. That's really thoughtful.
And I kind of developed this whole thing into like a tech storytelling thing. And I did a lot of practice. I gave a lot of workshops. And I worked with CTOs for their like, VC pitch, which was pretty cool also.
Awesome.
And it's like, you find these like really, 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 really smart people. And there's it's nothing to do with intelligence. They're just like so in love with their product that it's hard to see like what everyone else sees. And I turned it into a whole thing. And starting on Monday, this is where you can pull up the invitation. Starting Monday, I'm starting to give workshops for the Israel developer community in technical storytelling, where we work on like taking a topic in tech and turning it into a really cool, engaging story, where you also get to explain your whole point and you get to show the code. I have nothing against showing the code, but you've got this like nice beginning, middle, and end for framing the whole thing to make sure that like that one thing that you wanted everyone to remember, they're actually going to remember.
Exactly. That narrative like achieves the goal you're setting out, and you're super clear about what the goal is from the get-go.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Like knowing that from the introduction, which is what I focus on like 60% of the time, really kind of sets the tone for what the rest of your talk is going to be. And so we have these like 12-person events, max 12 people, so that it can be like a really collaborative session. And
it's like a workshop.
At this point, it's a workshop. Like just really provide good value, good content, good value, engage with the audience. We're all working together. This isn't like one of those talks where I'm talking, people are eating, doing things, talking to other people, working.
It's like what you should bring
your full attention.
Well, and do you want them to come with like a topic that they want to tell a story about? Is that kind of required pre-work?
Not really required, because we're going to end up choosing like 3 to 4 topics that we'll work on as a group, because I think 10 might be a lot.
Bye, James. Thank you for joining us.
James. Thanks for the commentary.
Yeah, totally. Get your
and
booty over here. Let's go.
So when I have people sign up, I ask them, like, is there a topic that you want to share? So
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then we'll take, like, I don't know, Lauren's topic is, how to do X with Y. And
sounds riveting.
Yeah. and we'll talk about, like, how can Lauren present this in the best possible way and work as a group to create
I love that. That is so fascinating. So where should people go if they want to find out more? Message you?
Definitely message me.
Okay.
I'm starting with the Israel community because, as you know, that's my job. But I do run these, like, once in a while for friends and stuff, just also to practice, but also
Sure.
me. So if if enough people are interested, I'd be happy to just run one outside of
Love it.
in a different time zone. And yeah, so I'm hoping people will want to invite other people. Everyone gets, like, their own personalized invitation. We'll do this every 2 weeks.
Yeah, awesome. That's so cool. I'm really excited about it. And I would love to audit if I can come play along. But I just think it's a neat way to build community and give back to this thing of, like, actually giving people content. Yes, tangible. I'm going to walk away with a story after this.
Completely.
Yeah, that feels important.
That's the goal.
That feels important. It's awesome.
It's scary.
It is scary, but that's the goal. And right?
It's so easy to just run an event, talk, say thanks to everyone, and get off.
Yep. But
no one's really going to challenge you in that.
No, because that's the norm.
Yeah.
Eek.
So
sorry, coming for you.
Changing the norm.
Yes.
where this stream is my first practice into people talking to me while I talk.
Yeah, right. I am here for it. I love it. I'm a big fan of this. I think it's really smart. And yeah, I'm just excited that we get to kind of talk about it here. And I don't know. You heard of it here first, folks. I don't know. Where can people find you online? Let me make sure that we plug that. I'll toss guest back into the chat.
Twitter.
Yeah. And yeah. So folks,
that's a great place.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being a part of this and chatting with me today and being my guest. I really appreciate this whole story is incredible and inspiring. And I just think, folks are going to walk away with, like, again, tangible advice and feedback on how to enter the space. And if, like, if my brand is a dog barking, like, that's pretty true. If yours is, like, feedback that is, I'm going to give you something in this, like, the aces. That's awesome. That's awesome. So
that's the story. That's the story on the story.
It's a beautiful one. And I'm excited for the text story retelling workshops and everything that's going to evolve into, because I know that that's going to be itself something that is like an evolution. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, and everyone else, heck yeah. Everyone, thank you for being, I believe in you. We believe in you. I'm going to be back next week, as always. But I will see you all then. Thank you. And everyone, thank you for being a part of this today. Really appreciate y'all.
Bye, Lauren.
Oh, yes. Let's go raid a stream. Let's do that.
Let's enjoy the boat and the
right
drink holders.
You know what? New relic is let's start the raid. All right. I will see you all soon, and thank you 100% again.
Bye.
Bye.